Stop! Don't skip this video. What if I told you that a simple Canada 5-cent coin sitting quietly in your pocket could actually be worth thousands of dollars? Yes, you heard that right. Most people ignore these small coins. They spend them without even looking twice, but collectors, they know the truth. Some of these coins, especially certain years, certain designs, and even tiny differences you might never notice, can turn an ordinary nickel into a hidden treasure today. We're diving deep into 4 specific Canada 5-cent coins from 1970, 2012, 2013, and 2016. At first glance, they all look the same. Same size, same metal, same beaver design. But here's the shocking part. Not all coins are created equal. A small variation, a rare strike, or even a condition difference can multiply the value by hundreds, even thousands of dollars. Imagine finding one of these coins in your old drawer or inside a forgotten coin jar and realizing you've been holding real money all along. Sounds crazy? Well, it's happening every single day in the collector market, from auction houses to online sales. These coins are quietly being sold for prices that most people would never expect. So before you spend your next nickel, before you ignore that old coin lying around, watch this video till the end. Because one of these coins might already be in your collection. And you don't even know it yet. When you hold a coin like the 1970 Canada 5-cent piece, you are not just holding metal, you are holding a fragment of Canadian history that quietly passed through thousands of hands, pockets, shops, and moments of everyday life. This coin belongs to a long-running tradition of Canadian nickels that began in the 19th century, but by 1970, Canada was going through a very important phase of economic stability and modernization. The Royal Canadian Mint was refining its production techniques, improving consistency, and at the same time, continuing to produce one of the most iconic designs in Canadian coinage history. The beaver. The reverse of this coin features the beaver, a symbol deeply connected to Canada's identity. The beaver is not just an animal on the coin, it represents industry, persistence, and the early fur trade that helped shape the country's economy and development. It is a reminder of how Canada grew from natural resources and hard work into a modern nation. On the adverse side, you will find Queen Elizabeth II, whose portrait became a defining feature of Canadian currency for decades. Her image connects this coin to a larger Commonwealth tradition, representing continuity, stability, and national identity during a rapidly changing world. Now, what makes the 1975-cent coin especially interesting for collectors is not just its design, but the subtle variations that exist within it. Among these variations, the large date version has gained attention in the numismatic world. The difference is small, almost invisible to an untrained eye, but for collectors, it is everything. The spacing, the font size, and the boldness of the date 1970 can slightly vary depending on the die used during minting. These small differences are not mistakes in the traditional sense. They are production variations that happen during large-scale minting processes, but over time, collectors began to recognize these differences as unique identifiers, and that is where the value discussion begins. This coin was produced in massive quantities, meaning millions entered circulation. It was used in daily transactions across Canada, in stores, transportation, vending machines, and everyday trade. Most of these coins were never meant to be collectibles. They were meant to be spent. However, as decades passed, most of these coins disappeared from circulation, lost in time, melted down, or heavily worn. Only a small percentage remain today in collectible condition, and even fewer in high-grade preservation. That is where the collector market becomes interesting. In the numismatic world, the value of a coin is not only determined by its face value or metal content. Instead, it depends on rarity and condition, demand among collectors, and specific identifiable features like date variation, strike quality, and preservation state. For the 1970 Canada 5-cent coin, circulated examples are generally Common, but well-preserved pieces, especially those showing sharp details on the beaver and clear definition in the date, can attract strong interest from collectors who specialize in Canadian nickels. Auction activity over the years has shown that certain specimens, particularly those with better than average condition or unusual characteristics, can perform significantly better in the collector market compared to ordinary circulation pieces. But the real fascination with this coin is not just monetary value. It is the connection to history. This coin represents a time before digital payments, before modern banking systems took over everyday transactions. It was part of a physical economy where coins had real daily importance. Every scratch, every mark on these coins tells a silent story of movement through time. Some collectors are drawn to it for its design simplicity, others for its historical context, and some simply enjoy the thrill of searching through old collections, hoping to find that one piece that stands out from the rest. So when you look at the 1970 Canada 5-cent coin, you are not just evaluating metal and numbers, you are looking at a small artifact of Canadian economic history, one that continues to travel through collector hands even today, decades after it was first minted. And that is exactly why this coin still holds attention in the numismatic world, even after so many years. Now let's go even deeper into the world of the 1970 Canada 5-cent coin, because this is where most people completely underestimate what they are holding. As we continue from its origin and design, the real story begins when we look at how this coin behaves in today's collector market. Over time, coins like this move through different stages of life. First, they are minted in massive numbers. Then they enter circulation, passing from hand to hand, from cities to small towns, from everyday transactions like buying groceries, transport fares, and vending machines. Most of them are never noticed. Most people never even look at the year stamped on them. But decades later, when these coins start disappearing from circulation, something interesting happens. Collectors begin to search for them, and that is where perception completely changes. The 1970 Canada 5-cent coin, depending on its condition, can fall into several categories in the collector market. A heavily circulated piece may only hold its face value or slightly above it for metal and historical interest. But when a coin is found in sharper condition, where the beaver design is still clearly visible, and the Queen's portrait retains detail, the interest increases significantly. In numismatics, condition is everything. Even a small difference in wear can change how a coin is graded, and grading directly influences demand. Now, while most 1970 nickels are common, collectors sometimes look for specific striking details, mint variations, or unusually well-preserved examples. These are the coins that quietly attract attention in auctions and private sales, depending on market demand and collector interest. Such coins can range from modest values in circulated condition to higher premiums when exceptional preservation or unique characteristics are present. Some enthusiasts specifically collect Canadian nickel series sets, which increases demand for complete year collections including 1970. But what makes this coin even more interesting is not just its market behavior, it is the connection it represents. Because when you study coins like this closely, you begin to understand how currency reflects a country's economic history. In 1970, Canada was experiencing stability and growth, and its coinage system was built for durability and mass circulation. That is why nickel became the standard metal, strong, practical, and long-lasting. Now, as we move forward from 1970, we enter a broader world of Canadian 5-cent coins, each one telling its own subtle story. Let's move into the next layer of this collection mindset. Coins from 2012, 2013, and 2016 may look modern, but they still play an important role in collector discussions. Unlike older coins, these newer issues are part of a highly controlled minting era, where design consistency is extremely precise. However, even in modern coinage, collectors still look for small variations, special strikes, and high-grade uncirculated pieces. The 2012 Canada 5-cent coin, for example, continues the classic beaver design tradition. In circulated condition, it remains very common, but in pristine uncirculated condition, collectors may still seek it to complete full-year sets. Its value in the general market usually stays close to face value, but set collectors sometimes pay small premiums for flawless specimens. Then comes the 2013 issue, which follows the same design lineage but belongs to a period where circulation coins were gradually becoming less used in everyday cash transactions due to the rise of digital payments. This shift means fewer coins enter heavy circulation cycles compared to earlier decades. But it also means collectors focus more on mint-condition rolls and original bank sets, rather than worn examples. In most cases, 2013 5-cent coins are common, but in special packaging or uncirculated rolls, they hold collector interest for set completion purposes. Moving to the 2016 Canada 5-cent coin, we enter a modern era where coins are still minted but used far less in daily life. Many people no longer carry nickels in bulk, yet the Royal Canadian Mint continues production for collection sets and limited circulation needs. The 2016 coin, like the others, features the traditional beaver design and Queen Elizabeth II portrait, maintaining continuity in Canadian coin identity. Its value in normal condition is usually close to face value, but again, high-grade uncirculated examples or mint set versions can carry collectible premiums, depending on demand. Now here is the key point that most beginners don't understand. In modern coin collecting, value is no longer only about age. It is about rarity within condition, collector demand, and completeness of sets. Older coins like 1970 gain interest due to historical circulation and aging scarcity. Modern coins like 2012 to 2016 gain interest mainly from collectors trying to complete full series or obtain perfect condition specimens. So when you look at all four coins together, 1970, 2012, 2013, and 2016, you are actually seeing two different worlds of numismatics. One world is historical circulation coinage, and the other is modern collector-driven mint production. Both worlds are connected, but they operate on different value principles. And this is exactly why serious collectors never judge a coin just by its face value. They look deeper. They look at condition, rarity, production context, and long-term collector demand, because sometimes even a coin that looks completely ordinary today can become part of a valuable collection tomorrow. And that is the real hidden power behind Canadian 5-cent coins. As we move forward in time from the older generations of Canadian coinage, we now arrive at a much more modern era, the 2012 Canada 5-cent coin. A piece that at first glance may look extremely ordinary, but carries within it the evolution of an entire monetary system that has been slowly transforming over decades. This coin belongs to a period where physical currency was still present in everyday life, but its role had already started to change. By 2012, digital payments, debit cards, and electronic transactions were becoming increasingly dominant across Canada and many other developed economies. Despite this shift, the Royal Canadian Mint continued producing the 5-cent coin, not because of heavy circulation demand alone, but because of tradition, completeness of currency sets, and continued small-scale usage in cash-based transactions. The design of the 2012 5-cent coin remains faithful to the long-standing Canadian nickel identity. On one side, it carries the portrait of Queen Elizabeth II, a consistent feature that has defined Canadian coinage for generations, symbolizing continuity, stability, and the constitutional link between Canada and the Commonwealth. On the other side, it preserves the iconic beaver design, a symbol that has been deeply embedded in Canadian history since the early fur trade era, representing hard work, persistence, and national identity rooted in natural resources. What makes the 2012 issue particularly interesting from a collector's perspective is not dramatic rarity, or historical age, but rather its position within modern minting history. This is a coin produced in a highly controlled, highly efficient minting environment where precision and uniformity are far greater than in older decades. Because of this, most 2012 coins enter circulation in very similar condition, making extreme varieties rare in everyday finds. However, even in modern coinage, collectors do not only focus on age or rarity in the traditional sense. Instead, attention shifts toward condition, mint state quality, and set completion. The 2012 5-cent coin becomes part of a larger puzzle, a complete year-by-year collection that numismatists often try to assemble in pristine condition. In circulated condition, the 2012 coin typically remains very common, as it is not separated from regular currency circulation in any significant way. These coins may show light wear from handling, minor scratches, or loss of sharpness in the fine details of the beaver engraving. In such condition, they generally hold face value or slightly above depending on collector demand and bulk interest in rolls or sets. But the real interest begins when the coin is found in uncirculated or mint state condition. In these cases, the surface retains its original shine, the details of the beaver remain sharp and well-defined, and the queen's portrait appears untouched by circulation wear. These examples are often sourced from mint rolls, collector sets, or carefully preserved coin collections, rather than everyday change within the collector market. The value of the 2012 Canada 5-cent coin is generally modest in comparison to rare historical issues, but it still plays an important role in the broader numismatic ecosystem. Collectors who specialize in complete Canadian nickel sets actively seek out high-grade examples of this year to maintain consistency in their collections. For them, even a modern coin like this holds significance because a complete series is only as strong as its weakest condition piece. The Royal Canadian Mint during this period was also producing coins with advanced quality control standards, meaning that significant errors or dramatic mint variations are extremely rare. This increases consistency, but reduces the likelihood of discovering highly valuable error coins in everyday circulation. As a result, most of the collectible value in 2012 coins is derived from preservation quality rather than rarity anomalies when viewed in the broader timeline of Canadian currency. The 2012 5-cent coin represents a transitional phase. It is part of the final decades where physical small-denomination coins still had practical daily usage, before the world began shifting heavily toward cashless transactions. This makes it historically relevant not because of scarcity, but because of economic evolution. Collectors who study modern coinage often treat coins like the 2012 nickel as documentation of monetary behavior rather than rare artifacts. They represent the tail end of a system where physical change still mattered in everyday life. Vending machines, parking meters, small retail transactions, and pocket change exchanges. As time continues to move forward, coins like the 2012 issues slowly become less common in circulation, not because they are removed from existence, but because they are simply no longer used as frequently. This gradual disappearance from daily transactions is what slowly builds long-term collector interest over decades. And that is where the true numismatic perspective becomes important. A coin does not need to be rare today to become significant tomorrow. It only needs time, context, and historical transition behind it. The 2012 Canada 5-cent coin sits quietly in that category, not dramatic in value, not rare in circulation, but meaningful within the complete story of Canadian coinage evolution. And when you combine it with earlier coins like 1970 and later issues like 2013 and 2016, you begin to see a full timeline, a progression of design, economy, and national monetary behavior captured in small pieces of metal that most people never pay attention to, but collectors do. Because in numismatics, even the simplest coin can become part of a much larger historical narrative. And that is exactly why the 2012 Canada 5-cent coin still holds its place in modern collections. Quietly, consistently, and with long-term signals, we continue deeper into the story of the 2012 Canada 5-cent coin. It becomes important to understand that modern coinage does not suddenly become valuable overnight, but instead slowly builds its identity through time, circulation patterns, collector behavior, and the gradual disappearance of everyday usage. By 2012, Canada's economy was already heavily integrated with digital payment systems, meaning that coins like the 5-cent piece were no longer essential for daily transactions in the same way they were in earlier decades. Credit cards, mobile payments, and electronic banking were already reducing the physical movement of small denomination coins, which means that even though production continued, actual real-world circulation was beginning to shift. This shift creates an interesting situation in numismatics, because coins like the 2012 nickel exist in large numbers, yet their everyday visibility starts decreasing over time. They are still produced by the Royal Canadian Mint with high precision and strict quality standards, but fewer of them remain actively used in everyday commerce compared to earlier generations. When examining the physical characteristics of the 2012 coin more closely, one of the most important aspects is its consistency. The minting process during this period is highly advanced, meaning that the design of the beaver on the reverse side is extremely uniform across millions of pieces. The fine engraving shows clean lines, balanced proportions, and strong definition. When preserved properly, especially in uncirculated examples, the obverse side, featuring Queen Elizabeth II, continues the modern effigy design used during this period of Canadian coinage. The portrait is sharp, detailed, and standardized across multiple denominations, reflecting the Royal Canadian Mint's focus on uniformity and controlled production during the early 21st century. In terms of collector interest, the 2012 5-cent coin does not attract attention because of rarity and circulation, but rather because of its role in complete year set collecting. Many numismatists aim to assemble full annual sets of Canadian coins in mint state condition, and the 2012 nickel becomes an essential component of that set structure. Without it, the collection is considered incomplete, even though the coin itself is not rare individually. Over time, coins from this period begin to slowly exit circulation, not through official removal, but simply due to reduced usage in everyday transactions. People tend to save them in jars, forget them in drawers, or leave them untouched in collections. This gradual withdrawal from active use is what slowly increases long-term collector relevance, even for modern coins that were once considered extremely common. From a market perspective, the 2012 Canada 5-cent coin generally remains close to face value in circulated condition, but uncirculated examples, especially those sourced from original mint rolls or official collector sets, may hold slightly higher value among buyers who focus on preservation, quality, and pristine surfaces. The real premium in modern coinage is not age-based, but condition-based, meaning that the difference between a heavily circulated coin and a flawless mint state example can be significant in collector perception. Another important factor in understanding modern coins like this is the absence of major variation types. Unlike older coinage where different dies, date sizes, or minting inconsistencies created collectible variations, modern minting processes are highly controlled. This reduces the number of unexpected rarities, but increases uniformity across production batches. As a result, collectors focus more on grading quality rather than variation hunting. Even though the 2012 coin does not carry historical rarity or dramatic value spikes, it still plays a crucial role in documenting the final era of widespread physical nickel circulation. It represents a point in time. As we move forward from 2012 into the next chapter of Canadian modern coinage, we arrive at the 2013 Canada 5-cent coin, a piece that continues the same visual identity but carries a slightly different position in the Timeline of Canada's evolving currency story. By 2013, the financial world had already shifted even further toward digital transactions, and physical coins like the nickel were becoming less essential in everyday life. People were beginning to rely more on electronic payments, and cash-based small change circulation was gradually slowing down across urban areas. Despite this shift, the Royal Canadian Mint continued producing the 5-cent coin with the same precision and design consistency, ensuring that the traditional structure of Canadian currency remained intact. The 2013 nickel still carries the familiar and iconic design elements that define modern Canadian coinage. On one side, the portrait of Queen Elizabeth II remains a symbol of continuity and national identity, representing decades of stability in Canadian monetary history. On the reverse, the beaver continues its role as the national emblem of industry and perseverance, a design that has remained one of the most recognizable features in Canadian numismatics. What makes the 2013 coin interesting is not a dramatic change in design, but rather its place in the gradual transition phase of currency usage. This was a time when coins were still actively minted in large quantities, yet their practical importance in daily life was slowly beginning to decline. Many of these coins entered circulation, but were not heavily used, as digital payment systems were becoming more common in retail and commercial environments. From a collector's perspective, the 2013 Canada 5-cent coin is generally considered a common modern issue, but its importance increases when viewed in the context of full-year set collecting. Numismatists often see complete annual collections in mint state condition, and the 2013 nickel plays a necessary role in completing those sets. Without it, the collection is incomplete, even though the coin itself is not rare in circulation. In circulated condition, the 2013 coin typically shows light handling marks, minor surface wear, and reduced sharpness and fine design details such as the texture of the beaver's fur or the facial definition of the Queen's portrait. However, these circulated examples generally remain close to face value and are widely available. The real interest begins when the coin is found in uncirculated or mint state condition. In such cases, the surface remains clean, the luster is intact, and all design elements appear crisp and well-defined. These examples are usually sourced from mint rolls or collector sets, rather than everyday circulation, and they attract attention from collectors who focus on high-grade modern Canadian coinage. Even though the 2013 nickel does not belong to the category of rare or error coins, it still reflects an important stage in Canadian monetary evolution. It represents a time when physical currency was still officially central to the economy, but practically beginning to lose its dominance in everyday transactions. Over time, coins like the 2013 5-cent piece slowly transition from being everyday money into collectible artifacts. They are no longer judged only by their face value, but by their preservation state, their role in complete sets, and their position within the timeline of Canadian coin production. And that is where modern numismatics becomes interesting, because even a coin that seems ordinary today can become part of a structured historical collection tomorrow, simply because it represents a specific year in the continuous story of a nation's currency. The 2013 Canada 5-cent coin stands quietly within that system, not rare, not dramatic in value, but still meaningful as a part of the evolving identity of Canadian coinage during the early 21st century. As we continue the journey through modern Canadian coinage, the spotlight now shifts fully onto the 2013 Canada 5-cent coin, a piece that represents not just a year, but a continuing evolution of everyday currency in a rapidly changing financial world. The 2013 nickel exists in a time when physical cash was still present in daily life, but its importance was steadily decreasing as electronic payments and digital banking systems became more dominant across Canada. People were slowly moving away from coins for small transactions, and this shift quietly influenced how coins like the 5-cent piece were perceived and used in circulation. Even with this transformation, the Royal Canadian Mint maintained the production of the 2013 5-cent coin with the same traditional design that had been carried forward for decades. The obverse side continues to feature the portrait of Queen Elizabeth II, a consistent symbol of Canadian currency stability and constitutional heritage. This portrait connects the coin to a long lineage of Canadian monetary history that spans multiple generations. On the reverse side, the iconic beaver remains unchanged, holding its place as one of the most recognizable symbols in Canadian numismatics. The beaver is not just a design element. It represents Canada's historical roots in trade, natural resources, and the early economic development that shaped the nation's identity. Its presence on the coin reinforces continuity, tradition, and national symbolism. When examining the 2013 coin more closely, it becomes clear that its significance is not based on rarity or dramatic variation, but on its role within a structured modern minting system. By this time, the Royal Canadian Mint was operating with highly advanced production technology, ensuring that each coin produced was nearly identical in appearance and quality. This level of precision reduced the presence of major variations, but increased overall uniformity across circulation coins. From a collector's perspective, the 2013 Canada 5-cent coin is primarily valued as part of complete yearly sets, rather than as an individual rarity. Numismatists who build full Canadian coin collections often seek this coin in mint state condition to ensure that their yearly set remains complete and consistent. Without it, even a common coin set is considered incomplete in formal collection standards. In circulated condition, the 2013 nickel typically shows light signs of handling from everyday use. These marks may include minor surface scratches, reduced shine, and slight wear on the finer details of the beaver engraving. However, even in this condition, the coin remains common and generally holds minimal premium above its face value. The more interesting category begins with uncirculated or mint state examples. These coins preserve their original mint luster, sharp design details, and clean surfaces. They are often obtained directly from mint rolls, collector sets, or carefully stored coin packs rather than general circulation. These higher-grade examples attract attention from collectors focused on preservation quality and full set completion. Although the 2013 coin does not belong to the category of rare error coins or limited mintage issues, its importance lies in documentation rather than scarcity. It represents a specific moment in Canada's monetary timeline, a period where physical currency was still active, but slowly transitioning into a less dominant role in everyday life. Over time, coins like the 2013 5-cent piece gradually move from being functional currency into collectible items. Their value becomes less about spending power and more about condition, historical placement, and inclusion in structured collections. This transformation is a natural process in numismatics, where time itself becomes a key factor in defining importance, and so the 2013 Canada 5-cent coin stands as part of this ongoing evolution, a modern issue that reflects stability in design, consistency in production, and transition in usage. It may not be rare in the traditional sense, but it remains an essential part of the complete story of Canadian coinage in the 21st century.